Live show.
If you want tickets to the live show on Sunday, November the 5th.
Sunday, November the 5th.
In the Thirsty Bear pub in Waterloo, central London.
Head over to Eventbrite where you can buy tickets. We start at 2 p.m. is when the first game is. We will be there earlier than that.
Live screen of Forest v Villa, Luton v Liverpool, and then this podcast, but the Gameweek 11 review with Suj rather than you.
And it goes all the way through till sort of they kick us out.
When they kick us out.
Exactly that.
Tickets are £5. All money raised goes to the Gameweek 39 charity fundraiser. The live show is brought to you in partnership with our friends at FPL Meets.
Help a brother out.
They organise a lot of awesome free meetups all around the world. And so, yeah, please do come and show support and come and say hi at the live show on the 5th of November as well.
Sunday, November the 5th.
It'll be a really, really good day out. Guarantee that.
Any fireworks that day, James?
I mean, it might be for Watkins and Salah owners as Villa go to Forest and Liverpool go to Luton. So it'll be very interesting games from a fantasy perspective as well, whatever format you play.
Nice one. Listeners, remember the 5th of November. Stay safe. Ciao for now.
Live show.
That's coming. After 2 hours of setting the mics up, cables, cameras, I have to sit like a fucking hunchback. So, listen, thanks everybody for turning up to our first ever Planet FPL Live.
You're going to do that for an hour. Young Min Sun, Young Min Sun, Young Min Sun, Young Min Sun. Yeah, it works. It works for quite a lot, actually, I think.
So I was like, I need to Wednesday, Thursday, I need to get a fresh trim for a live show. She's like,
you just had one.
Yeah, but I was like, but the new style is like,
you having a midlife?
Sure,
are you having a midlife crisis?
Hides the greys, bruv. Roll it. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around fantasy Premier League. My name is Such.
And my name is James.
Nice. I heard you had a good weekend, James.
I had a good Friday night.
I heard you got a 69 at the weekend, mate. Lucky James.
Hold on. Wait, are we not over this joke yet?
No laughing at the back.
Yeah, I got a 69 this week.
Nice.
Yeah, which is more than you, I believe, this week.
Yeah, I got 63. It was one of those where, obviously, Luis Diaz in my team. Hopefully, it's just his dad now that's been kidnapped, from my understanding.
Yeah, I mean, they got his mum back, didn't they?
Yeah. So, I had Gabriel and Luis Diaz at the weekend. Gabriel didn't start and didn't play at all, which is fine. I made the transfer. I took your advice from the differential show and I sold Porro because I actually did look at it and there was only a couple of games up until West Ham where I might have played him, Wolves being one. And the Wolves have scored in every game this season, bar the opening day. So, fine. And bought Tsimikas, cheap and cheerful, and ended up needing Tsimikas off the bench. So that 6 points was quite handy. And I had a no-show with Luis Diaz as well, which is completely understandable. Like, no one's... you know, where you get mad with your players in FPL for no-shows or whatever. No one's in none of that. Ended up being a bit of a disappointment, a bit of a red arrow, but then... Ifs and buts, right?
Get on with it. Who's your captain?
Watkins. So this is it, right? It's
You're unlucky there, mate.
To get a captaincy blank in a 3-1 win at home from Ollie Watkins, not worried. We all swerved robot. Then so many people, it was Saka's and Salah's.
I can't believe that anybody saw them teams come through and didn't think, fuck, I wish I'd captained Haaland.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly how I felt.
We'll talk about the games, we analyse it, and you just think Maguire, Evans, Lindelof. Particularly Lindelof, left back.
No Casemiro. He was the biggest one, really.
Yeah. And you get reminded that actually United are bad. And it played out that way.
Average.
Areola with a 3-pointer. I mean, we'll talk about that. But he pulled off a couple of good saves. But really...
Save from Decore was very good.
It was. But then also... Everton had 3 or 4 chances on the counter. The first half, West Ham were quite comfortable. I did think there was a clean sheet there. Trips, 0-pointer. Is what it is.
Hang it in the... What's the name of the place? Hang it in the Louvre.
Louvre.
Hang it in the Louvre.
0-pointer, okay.
Yeah. Hang Trips' 0-pointer in the Louvre.
Yeah. Cashy with 5 points. Matty Cash. Cashy with 5 points. Diaby 13. Diaby was my highlight of the week, basically.
You got to bin that Cashy stuff.
Why?
You can't.
Matty Cashy.
Why? When you put Y's on the end of something, it's for
Diaby.
nicknames. It's to shorten something, not to make something longer.
Cashy, Sonny. Why'd you call him Sonny then?
Okay.
Why'd you call him Sonny then?
Fine.
Sonny.
All right, fine.
Diaby was the highlight, to be honest, because he's been both my Sky team and my FPL team for a few weeks. And it's been, come on.
So many people debating selling him. I was like, wow, look at that fixture.
No. So really, it was Haaland, Diaby, Son, Cash and Tsimikas. And then, Bowen blanked, didn't deserve anything. Mitoma, they're kind of stuttering along a bit, Brian, at the moment. And I needed Alvarez off the bench and Watkins, captaincy blank. It was a 200,000 drop to 1.6 million, considering captaincy blanked and pretty much everybody else, if you include even Saka's assist and the clean sheet, was a return. Salah returned, Haaland returned. They would be the majority of the other captains. Yeah, fine. What else can you do? Keep it moving.
Yeah, listen.
And I'm happy with the transfer usage, to be honest with you. Like getting rid of Porro for.
Have you still got 2 frees
Tsimikas.
going into this
Yeah,
now as
I
well?
only made the one
So you had to
free
do
transfer.
something, yeah.
And and obviously look, you lost your clean sheet right at the death as well. So
Which was Pedro's fault.
had I kept Porro, it would be a 2-pointer, not the 6 coming off for Tsimikas. So it's played out all right in the end for that transfer. Could have been better for the week, but yeah.
69 for me, 5 for Kashi, 7 for Saliba, which is a very nice bonus against, I'm pretty sure the majority of people wildcarded would have gone Gabriel.
Yeah, anyone who's wildcarded in the last 2-3 weeks has
Perfectly
gone Gabriel.
6 for Tsimikas, I captained Saka for 12. I mean, when I saw the teams, I regret the fact that not regret that I didn't captain Haaland, but I'd wished that when I'd seen them teams, it's exactly what we discussed on our Patreon pod Friday morning. It's like, I think they'll probably win narrowly, but subject to what that United team is, we'd maybe feel different.
It was still at Old Trafford. It's still a derby.
Yeah.
I can understand why people didn't want to go with it.
But also, I've captained Arsenal's talisman. They won 5-0. And that was it.
Yeah.
During the course of the week, it's like, I think Arsenal will smash them. So
my minus 56, I went blanket midfield, Odegaard, Martinelli and Saka. I got an assist between them.
Yeah.
Odegaard didn't even show in the 5-0.
6 from Maddison, 10 from Son, 16 from Haaland. I benched Alvarez, was the one of the attacking 8 that I left out this week. That's obviously not hurt me. So 69, his 4th green in a row, 747k is very small green arrow this week. But I take it considering Salah's obviously been really popular over the last 3 weeks and I'm not on that route. I've still been chipping away despite not having him, so I'm quite pleased with that. Obviously, had I captained Haaland, probably looking at a pretty big and healthy green. I think Saturday night, because most people hadn't captained Saka, most had captained Sunday, I jumped up to about 350k on Saturday, but primarily the Tottenham boys, and then obviously Saka's
Think about I had
12 and Saliba's 7.
Players play by Saturday.
Yeah.
I'd had Son and Trips. That was it. So for a lot of people, there's still a lot of players still to go.
I bought Jared Bowen for Jeremy Doku. It's not really made any difference, has it? So you could look at it now. Oh, maybe. I did. The closer it got, I began to think of rolling on Friday, actually. But I was like, no. If I'm going to go Bowen, now's the right time to do it. Wrong time, clearly. But it felt like the right time as the start of West Ham's fixture run, if you will. So, and I'll stick with him. There's no really thoughts to move that on. And looking ahead to this week really generally might be a role for me. Probably close call whether I play Udogie or Saliba. The defender I'd really like to get, because I don't think, when you look at the fixtures for this week, Serge, like, there's nothing I look at and think, I really want to get this team for defensive assets. Or there's a couple I've thought about. One's Rayan Aït-Nouri, actually. He's basically playing left midfield for Wolves at the moment, and I think that might stick for a little bit with Neto's injury. The one I'd love to go and get is John Stones. Just short. With the
What's
money.
he down to now? 4.7?
5.3.
Oh, 5.3. He started at 5.5. Okay.
It's 5.3 or 5.2, but I've only got 0.3 in the bank, so can't get there. And it probably would have been one needing to go early. Udogie was scheduled to go down in price last night, didn't. But yeah, I'm not taking hits for defenders in that situation when I've got so many good players. It's probably going to be toss a coin between benching Saka, Bowen or Mitoma this week. So in a position of luxury, so it's probably a role for me this week.
Saka, Bowen or Mitoma. So you got Bowen away at Brentford.
Yeah. Saka at Newcastle. I think it'll be low scoring.
Yeah,
that fixture. Mitoma's at Everton.
See, I think West Ham going to Brentford without Paquetá and Alvarez. You got Brighton going to Everton. Everton defensively, they kept really good shape against that. They kind of did to us what we did at Brighton, where just kept a shape and then hit on the counter.
Yeah, but I think they might play Patterson again, and Mitoma against Patterson is not anything like what you would have offered yesterday.
But Garner was all right on that side, helping him a little bit sometimes and stuff. And then Saka at Newcastle, I'd probably go Saka. I'd play Saka, and I'd probably play Mitoma. I'd consider benching Bowen. It's not an easy call, that. I don't think there's a lot in it between the three of them.
Haaland captain?
Yeah.
It's nothing to think about for us that still own this week.
Mate, not even.
And I guess for those who don't, it's Mo Salah. Or do people panic and think, oh, sugar, I've got to get him back in? He was always going to play Bournemouth in this forthcoming week. It was always going to be the scenario. So
Luton away. I don't know. If you haven't got Haaland, I think you stick with the plan.
Yeah, go with Mo, yeah.
Yeah, exactly,
I think so.
Good. Let's talk about some of these games. Oh, no, you don't suggest anyone would move to Gabriel, even though he didn't start on the weekend?
No, I'd keep him.
Not even as part of a bench boost? You don't think anyone should buy him and bench boost? Because Udogie will probably play. Right?
Shout out to Nick, FPLG.
Nick, we love you.
Yeah, we love you, Nick.
That was a great show, by the way.
It was good. So, I went in, obviously, because I went to Selhurst Park. I didn't do the deadline stream on Friday night live. I did an earlier recording. And I went down and crashed their gig in Victoria and sat down. Nick's like, I'm going to bench boost with Udogie. I'm like, well, I think you'll play, but you don't want to do that. He's like, I've got 1 free left. He's like, I'm thinking about getting Gabriel. I'm like, definitely do it. I think his bench was going to be something like Gabriel. He had Sanchez and Areola as the two keepers. Yep. Foden he was going to bench, who obviously at least did score. And I forget who the other defender was, but I was like, yeah. Because we'd had a discussion about it Friday. Fortunately, you didn't. Because I think you had about 2 points on the bench or something.
It was Lamptey. Like, Lamptey wasn't going to play, so there's no way I was bench boosting with an injured Lamptey. I would have had to move Lamptey onto, I don't know, Connor Roberts or something like that. So,
There's always the danger of doing it in a single game.
I needed my bench in the end, right?
Well, yeah, of course, because you lost Diaz and Gabriel, yeah. So, sorry, Nick. I hope it works out for you, though, mate. Maybe see you Sunday at our own live show.
Yes, indeed.
Oh, no, he said he can't come.
He can't, but Ash is coming.
The live show now.
November the 5th. It's only 6 days away, depending on how you count your days now. It's going to be awesome.
Sorry.
Well, as in 7 days. Is it on the 6th day from now?
No,
or is it 7 days away?
Why would you count your day? Please don't
count today or not?
We won't be there on Monday.
Do you count today or not?
No, it's 6 days from now, isn't it?
6 days from now or in 7 days?
Well, in 7 days would be Monday.
It depends if you count today as a day.
No, sod that nonsense.
It's on Sunday, which is the 5th of November, at the Thirsty Bear in Waterloo. We're going to be there from, let's say, midday, 12:30, whatever you like. 2 o'clock is the early kickoff, Liverpool.
No, Forest
Villa. And then Luton, Liverpool is at 4:30. Sitting, eating and drinking throughout the games, chatting, catching up with people. Obviously, a lot of people with Watkins, maybe Salah captainers and stuff. So, fantasy point of view will be great fun. Live show.
Live show.
And,
7 o'clock.
And then after that, James will get these mics out, dust them off, and record this podcast in front of 60, 70, 80 people of an audience.
The plan is to put it all out to the rest of you on Monday for those who live on the other sides of the world. It's not going to be like hidden or anything.
No,
hopefully, because of course if the tech don't work, then sorry.
Yeah.
I ain't sitting here and re-recording it on Monday.
Yeah, indeed. You can get tickets at Eventbrite. Just go to Eventbrite and type in Planet FPL. Planet FPL Live 4 will come up, or you go to Twitter at Planet FPL Pod. The link is in James's bio to go and pick yourself up a ticket. The tickets are there just to help us regulate numbers, and with the venue and so on, all of the money that we raise is going to Gameweek 39, a great charitable cause as part of the FPL community. We're going to match every penny that we've had in. So we're going to be a few £100 in the end to kickstart the third ever Game Week 39, which will be lovely. Always love supporting that event.
Someone told me as well, you got a plug 20% off food and drink.
Yeah, man. And obviously the price of food and drink in London these days is going to need it, mate.
Oh yeah, it's still expensive.
Food and drink is 20% off because we are in partnership with our friends at FPL Meats. They use the venue regularly, and so the venue look after us because we look after them. And looking forward to it with Nima and Dan and all of the boys that are involved with that. yeah, it's just going to be fun, man. I'm really looking forward to it now. It feels like it's really kind of crept up, but suddenly, yes, cool. Sunday, right the day off, we're going to be chilling, and it's the meeting up with people live has got to be the best part of this whole shit compared to X.
For everyone who keeps saying, like, when you're coming up north, yeah, well, we did that, and then COVID happened, so we don't think we're coming back. 'Cause we don't want to, like, Armageddon again. No, we probably will, but this would be our first one since before COVID.
Exactly that. So, yeah, really looking forward to it. Make sure you get yourselves booked as early as you can, please, just so it helps us with numbers and that kind of thing. And you don't have to stay for the whole thing, right? You can dip in, dip out. If you can only watch a couple of the games.
No,
so
stay all day.
Yeah, but
drink
some people,
responsibly.
Got commitments and stuff. We don't want to limit people. Bring family. It's like, it's not even like, you can't bring family and kids if they're into the football and stuff. Bring them.
No, I don't know about kids. We might need to check that.
Depends on the age.
Yeah, probably. No family.
Just bring them. We're inclusive. This is not like it's going to get rowdy.
Bring your partners, all that stuff.
Yeah.
All that.
Because you know that they already think that you're a geek. Let's just come and show them how much geekier everybody else in the FPL community is, and what a bunch of lemons we all are. Let's talk about the football though, James.
Talk about the lemons at the top of the league.
Top of the league, 5 points clear as of Friday, now down to 2 points. It's very interesting.
Obviously, I was making a big deal of 5 points Friday night because I knew it wasn't going to be 5 points come Saturday night. And I suspect we'll have to beat Chelsea next Monday to go back at the top of the league because it's at the minimum, it's very difficult to foresee Manchester City wouldn't beat Bournemouth on Saturday. So, yeah, it wasn't a thriller. And to laugh at half time, because obviously I was there, and they had like mascots doing a penalty shootout. It was good fun and stuff. And then the announcer goes, and now let's show you the highlights from the first half. And the away end just pissed itself laughing because it's always the same now. The amount of times I've said it to you over the years, you go to Palace, you win, you leave. That's it. It's never a good game there, ever.
Well, I could hear and feel it was a bit of a physical game. They kind of, I want to say put the boot in, but they made it tough.
They're entitled to do that.
Yeah. I'm not. It's not a criticism. It's just that it can take away from the quality of football.
I think they largely defended really well and frustrated, and they deserve credit for that. You have to remember they're missing their two best players at the moment in Eze and Elise, certainly at least from an offensive perspective. They had a couple of decent moments sort of in the first 10, 15 minutes. We got better after the break. The change helped, so Udogie I was really confident was going to play, to be honest, partly because we don't have another game for 10 days from last Friday. The word at the moment is there was lots of reports afterwards that he potentially trained on Thursday, so we don't think there's a major issue. We think Ange possibly just took the choice not to risk him. Ben Davies at left back didn't work purely because it was an outball for Palace, so they could just keep knocking it over the top. Because with us now and the pace at the back, we'll obviously play a high line, but they were specifically targeting Ayew over the top of Davis. Once Emerson come on, that nullified that problem, and then the way he goes into midfield positions just works much better than Ben Davis. Like, Emerson now has to be, if Porro or Doggie's unavailable, he plays, whether it's left or right back. It's a better choice than Davis because teams will just look to exploit that as a pace avenue to hurt Tottenham. So it was better when he came on. The first goal was obviously fortuitous, but actually comes almost in the same way that the two Fulham goals come about, pressing really high. Maddison nearly gets to Johnston. It's eventually him that ends up firing it across goal. And it's a beautiful finish from Joel Ward. Thank you, sir. The second goal is a brilliant, brilliant team goal. And we played really well from kind of the first goal till pretty much Jordan Ayew's goal, and then we shit ourselves again. Well, I say we shit ourselves. Let me tell you that everyone in the away end was shitting themselves. The away, it was so comfortable that the away end was comfortably singing, we are top of the league, 10 minutes to go and stuff. I was like, I'm not joining in until this game's won. Got to 93 minutes, I was like, yeah, it's time. Palace scored straight afterwards. I was like, oh no, want the ground to swallow up and open up. But it was certainly not vintage, but I guess that's probably a good sign. I wouldn't say we played badly, Suj. We just really struggled to create, in all honesty, and that's the Palace's.
It's the way Selhurst.
It's the Palace's credit, and then get the 3 points on the board and leaves absolutely fine. From the FPL perspective, that Maddison and Son are going to continue to do good things, despite these fixtures getting harder, particularly with Sonny. You look at things like playing Villa in a few weeks, it's obviously a tough game. You think, oh my God, he could go off with their high line if our creativity's right on the day. So I'd be reluctant to get rid. I know there's a number looking at kind of sideways Maddison moves to likes of Bowen, etc. I think a lot will have done it this week and come off one or both on wildcard. And it is understandable because the fixtures are getting harder. But my take at the moment is just leave them in. I just think they're going to contribute so much to whatever we do.
What about madness of this? So I've obviously got a Luis Diaz problem and I've got a bit of money going Luis Diaz to Maddison because I do regret letting Maddison go on wildcard.
No, I mean, wait and see what the situation is with Diaz.
Yeah,
right? If he's back for Sunday, and we don't know at this stage, right?
If it would only be if we knew he was out for at least 2 or 3 weeks that I felt like I needed to do something with Luis Diaz. But so the question is buying Maddison.
Well, Madder's consistency will offer you an out, I think, for a lot of players throughout the season. I'd probably still rather you went Bowen at this stage.
So
because of fixtures coming up.
Palace, I mean, their fixture run now looks tasty. Burnley, Everton, Luton, West Ham, Bournemouth, and the Everton and Bournemouth game, are at home. But without Eze and without these guys,
they're both close.
I don't know if you could justify going there necessarily.
Yeah, I think.
Where would you go? Is the question.
Well, I think Mark Gay is a perfectly reasonable get for people who want to. I know he was close to going up in price last night. I don't think he did. I presume he's still 4.5. So that's a really good get, I think, for people to use as a rotational option. He is close to a rise. I think I would pay for him rather than Anderson. I know Anderson's got an assist again in the game. Gay missed a free header, which is a really good chance at 1-0. So me and Rory McLaughlin-Dowd, Palace correspondent, we were quite consistent at that start of the season. If one ends up going up in price more than the other, just get the cheaper one because it will swing back the other way. So I think Gay is a really good pickup. Johnson would be reasonable as well for people who have a keeper issue, but I think so many are on Areola are obviously not going to go and change that at the moment. So Gay, interesting. Eze and Elise need monitoring, right? Because they're going to come in at cheap prices. Eze's 6-1 now, I want to say. If he comes in and looks good right from the off, the fixtures are good for a sustained spell, and that might enable you to move money around. Probably more concerning for Palace wasn't the way they played. I understand the pragmatic approach, and I'm going to do a little piece for the advanced tiers on why they didn't press at 2-0 later in the week. More concerning was Hodgson's comments after the game. It was kind of very anti, kind of what Palace stand for. Did you see his comment about the kids?
No.
So he basically said the substitutions he made them weaker, and he literally said they didn't do anything about the substitutes, and that included like a few kids and stuff. I thought it was mad harsh, really, really harsh. I don't know what was to be gained out of actually saying that. It's not going to give him any confidence, is it?
No.
When they're having to stand in for Elise and Eze and stuff. But yeah, a good run of fixtures for Palace. Always going to be a tough game for the majority of teams. Just one final note on Tottenham, Suj. Johnson, Richarlison is a problem. And admittedly, I said to you last week, if I start...
Rephrase that. An FPL problem or a
both,
team problem?
Both. I wouldn't be surprised if Johnson comes in against Chelsea now. Okay. I think Tottenham's really good fixtures, if you will, is gone. So if you got Richarlison, you're moving it on. Johnson's worth keeping an eye on. It's like 5.8 or so. That should be watched. The big problem Tottenham have at the moment in games like this is the improvement through the spine of the team. Vicario, Van der Ven, Bissouma's basically like a new signing. Maddison and the two fullbacks coming in. It's like a whole new team through the spine, basically. But what teams are doing, like Palace, is making the game so narrow and saying go out wide. And neither Kulusevski or Richarlison have got enough 1v1 pace/ability to regularly be stretching teams, so they're happy to go narrow against Tottenham. That's making the game difficult. Tottenham are massively missing at the moment a 1v1 specialist, a Mitoma, if you will, that type of player who you just wouldn't want to leave 1v1. Even the likes of Joel Ward going, I'll have Richarlison 1v1. Yeah, no problem. Mitchell played quite well against Kulusevski. He came off injured, might have a little bit of a problem as well. Ange obviously loves Decky. I love Decky because he keeps playing 90 minutes nearly every game. Johnson's speed is probably going to be a better attribute for Tottenham than Richarlison over these coming games, I think.
Next up for you is Chelsea. And Chelsea, we both called this wrong, mate. We both thought Chelsea would win. Chelsea nil, Brentford 2.
Shoots of recovery. I kept reading on Saturday morning, Tottenham next week if we continue this run. Now they're like, oh God.
I mean, obviously, look, it's got the added spice, that fixture of Maurizio. So you can understand why it's quite a big deal for both clubs and teams. But to come off a home win like that, a defeat, sorry, I mean a away win for Brentford 2-0. Thank you, Mbomo. Is he the new Zaha in my life?
Can we talk?
I think he might be the new Zaha in my life.
We have to talk about the goal first, as in Brentford's second goal. It was the first time all season I think I'd been watching a moment in a football match and FPL was going through my head. Not that Mbumo returning was like hugely denting, but it was a bit like, go on, Maupay, you score. But obviously it would have been an Mbumo assist anyway. Yeah. Honestly, I pissed myself laughing at that goal. And you could watch Sanchez eating up the ground. Then I started thinking as well, as he was getting closer, I was thinking, foul him. Get sent off and miss next Monday, right? From the Tottenham perspective. And I know there's a few beyond Sanchez as well. But the fact he's ended up with an open goal from 60 yards with no goalkeeper, and just the way Sanchez hit up the ground on him was hilarious. He didn't even get the assist in the end, did he? Because I think it was Sanchez.
No, there was no
Sanchez touched the ball, didn't he? Bless Neil Maupay, who obviously wasn't going to play in this game with Brentford. Obviously, we're going to go to a back five against an opponent like this. They'll probably go to a back four again, I imagine, against Usage. So Maupay probably will play against West Ham, I would have thought, because Brentford will have more of the ball than you would expect against Chelsea. Really good defensive display from Brentford in the end, I would say. Because I actually thought Chelsea played really well for half hour. The game had a really good vibe to it, Suj. Because as much as Chelsea were dominating a lot of the ball, when Brentford had counters, you felt like they could hurt as well. Really good pace and energy to the game. The game in the opening third, I think, was probably quicker than what Brentford wanted it to be. And I think they probably were expecting Chelsea to operate perhaps a more patient, possession-orientated approach. But the game was fast, and Chelsea on turnovers missed a number of good opportunities where they got the pass wrong or someone made an incorrect run. But I thought they played well for a third. Then, obviously, they conceded a shocking goal. I mean, both goals they conceded were shocking. But the first goal was so bad. It's lax from a throw-in. It's a looping cross where someone between goalkeeper, Disasai on the back throw, someone's got to deal with that. And Pinnock ends up having a free header from... It's just an ordinary cross. When a ball comes in with that sort of height, someone defensively has got to deal with it, and they all just wait for each other, and Pinnock can't miss. And from there, once you go behind, Brentford are a really, really difficult team to play against. I also think it kind of amplifies Chelsea's attacking problems when they go behind, because that's the issue, right? Defensively, I've criticised them there, but defensively on the overall,
they haven't conceded a lot of goals.
They've been fine. It's more the other end. So then when they get behind, when you're playing against a low block and a team like Brentford have got something to hang on to, it just amplifies the problems and shows lack of goal scoring and also lack of creativity as well. You always felt like it was only going to be through Palmer, who was really good again, I thought, in the first half. But the game just got overcomplicated for Chelsea, and they really struggled to create openings from there. And by the end, I think Brentford probably were deserving winners. The XG looked slanted because of the chance at the end, obviously. But yeah, good for Brentford, and we have to acknowledge that we were a little bit concerned for them a couple of weeks ago. 2 good wins, 5 scored, no goals conceded. And you just look at them again and go, yeah, fine. Never want to play them. Always going to be a difficult game. And they've now won all of their games at Stamford Bridge since they got promoted, which is a remarkable statistic.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be having a bit of Brentford in my team next week for minus 56 for sure, because home game against West Ham, missing players for West Ham and not in great shape. So I think they're due another win, mate.
They've got difficult games coming up after. There's a couple of really difficult ones after the West Ham game. So I wouldn't. There's no thoughts of me going back to Mbumo, but certainly those who still held through this week. And I know there was a number of people unfortunately benched. Some were fortuitous enough to get him off the bench. That's what deep squads are for. You wouldn't sell this week, maybe afterwards. But I'm not looking to go back and buy either, despite the fact you've got a few players suspended. I think Tottenham-Chelsea Monday night will be tight. I'd be surprised if that was like a 3-2 game. I would expect it to be quite low scoring.
Let's talk about Arsenal 5, Sheffield United 0. Let's talk about Sheffield United first.
Because
1 point from 10.
Since no team since Sheffield United got 1 point from 10.
We talked a little
yes,
while
they'll
ago.
beat Derby's number. Yes.
Based off what?
Yes, they will. They've got horrendous injuries and stuff at the moment. Missing McBurney, as kind of I spoke about last week, wasn't going to help.
I disagree.
You don't think they'll get the Derby's points total?
It's 11, wasn't it?
Okay, I'll tell you what I will say. I'd be staggered if they stayed up. Sorry to say.
Yeah, that's 1 point from 10, mate. That's over a quarter of the season.
But it's not like they can't see the teams in front of them. What if suddenly Everton did get that points deduction, which, by the way, can we stop this 12-point narrative? It's really unlikely to be that. But they can see Burnley, right? They can see Luton. They can see Bournemouth. If Everton do get a smaller points deduction, they can see Everton. So they're not adrift, right? It's not like they're on 1 point from 10 and 17th is on 9-10 points on a point per game already. Like, they can still see it. If suddenly they did get back-to-back wins from somewhere, it means it's unthinkable to beat Wolves this weekend with no Neto.
Yeah, for me right now.
Look at how Wolves played at Luton.
Yeah, but Wolves is just
that was probably Wolves' worst performance was at Luton.
And drawn with Newcastle. I wouldn't see Sheffield United even capable of anything close to that. Those are two good results.
Don't be surprised if Sheffield United win at the weekend.
If
McBurney's back,
I'll be so surprised. Arsenal, on the other hand, I mean, I love it. Nketiah, Vieira, Tomiyasu, El Neni, Smith Rowe, Rice. That's like, of the 7 returnees. Okay, clean sheets aside.
Don't leave my captain out.
Of the clean sheets aside, that's 6 of the 7 returnees.
I also think Saka's really lucky to get that
ownership
assist,
whatsoever.
by the way.
And obviously the clean sheet points were there for everybody. It's good.
Not for Gabriel owners, mate.
No, that's very true. So yeah, like all good. Arsenal winning 5-0. Okay, Newcastle away is not an easy fixture for anyone, but then they've got a run where they could just really rack up the points, like Burnley, Brentford, Wolves, Luton, and then Villa away is obviously tough because Villa's was home record, and it is a tricky December for them, but they're going to be going into it in good rhythm, I think. So I've only got Gabriel right now. I need to add another Arsenal midfielder, not necessarily this week.
So you got no Arsenal attacking. You're going to want to, after this week.
After this week, and I think the order of preference is pretty kind of. Saka is still top of the tree for me. He's just Mr. Consistent, but Odegaard, if you wanted to play it a little differently, go Martinelli.
When they play Burnley in 2 weeks, Odegaard could be a really cheeky punt, I think. We're going for someone like that's not even a punt, is it? No, just because I think because no one will go there now. And the same might apply for Martinelli as well. It's not a this week conversation, but I think it's very much a next week conversation. I might do that, for example, Maddison to one of those 2 players, or maybe if I go, I think I've made a mistake here on West Ham and Bowen and move that sort of thing along, I might well do. I agree, Saka would still be the standout. I think if that Newcastle game wasn't in the way, a lot of people who had an enabling forward would be trying to work out how to get there and catch her, I think. We think Jesus could be back for that Burnley game in game week 12. Now, there's no reason to rush him, right? Particularly for a fixture like that. But it's not long-term with Nketiah, I don't think. He's perfect for this, being honest. He's a really good forward. He's a good goal scorer. But he's perfect for this. Come in, stand in as Jesus and score in games like this. Now, if Jesus was out for 2 months, I'd be extremely interested in getting him.
Because I think he would play. I don't think they would do anything like Havertz, false 9 or none of that nonsense now.
I agree.
I was looking at Nketiah's minutes, and he started at the beginning of the season, and he's had quite a lot of minutes.
Yeah, they trust him now, and he's a good player.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And he's dirt cheap in FPL. I know there's a few went for him. One of our patrons, Angus McPhail, went for him. I know Praz from FPL. He might have even captained him, I think.
Did he?
I think he might have. He certainly bought him. And you'd be over the moon. Brilliant signing if obviously you got him in and you're not moving it. Probably wouldn't even bench him. I think that would probably be low scoring at Newcastle at the weekend. But I think we probably, for those who wanted to go and catch it, might want to look at it again after this week. I can feel people who... There'll be 1 or 2 on, say, wildcard, more than 1 or 2 went, say, João Pedro. And you just know that's going to be a headache week in, week out. And it's not far to get from Pedro to him if you think he's going to play. And to be honest, even if you just knew he was going to play Burnley, there would be a case to say, get it for a week.
Yep.
Maybe. But who do Brighton have that week?
You tell me.
Sheffield United at home. So you'd be hoping João Pedro plays, right? On Gabriel... I do feel like there's probably been an overreaction to this. And
massive.
Listen, I have to recall that earlier in the season, we're like, be back in this week. But I think Arteta might have been telling the truth when he said they looked at players who played a lot of minutes. I'm not sure if people are aware that Gabriel did play for Brazil twice during the break. Obviously come back, and then it's Chelsea Saturday and then Seville Tuesday, both away games as well. So you don't know, it could be fatigue related afterwards. They've gone, he might have a bit of muscle tightness or that. I've gone, no, I don't think so. I would be so surprised if he didn't play at Newcastle at the weekend. Would be my take.
Bournemouth 2, Burnley 1. Big result for Bournemouth, particularly to come from 1-0 down as well. When I saw Burnley had gone 1 up, I was thinking, okay, this is ominous. But Bournemouth would be happy to come back and take the 3 points. And now it flips it on the other head. Difficult for Burnley now. I mean, it's so tight down there at the
Bournemouth
bottom.
had to win because it's Man City and Newcastle next.
Yeah.
Then suddenly you're looking at 12 without a win.
Yeah.
So it was important, and that's eased the pressure on the manager, because I think even Neil Grover said to us on COTC last week, don't want to change, but if it starts getting to 10 without a win, 12 without a win,
You got to look at it.
There's a call to be made, isn't there? Because it shouldn't, as much as they've had difficult fixtures, the results shouldn't have been overall, over a 10-game period, winless.
Yeah.
Particularly as obviously they'd lost to Wolves last week. The performance at Everton before that wasn't good either. So they had to get the result. They stiffened it up a little bit where they left Milos Kerkez out the team. So Lloyd Kelly played at left back. I know there was some people saying it was a back three. I've watched quite a bit of the game back. It certainly looked like a back four to me, with Marcus Tavernier playing ahead of that as a wide left midfielder. Antoine Semenyo came back in on the right of midfield. It was a player we spoke about quite a bit.
Start the season.
In pre-season. And to be honest, you could make a case if you were going for a 4.5 now that you'd go for him rather than Archer, just because you'd think, well, Bournemouth's fixtures after the next two get better, and if I need it, I'd rather that than just Archer at Sheffield United, who obviously didn't even start. It's worth saying at the Emirates at the weekend. I think that's probably down to they don't like him as a lone forward, and obviously playing against an opponent like Arsenal as well. So Semenyo, perhaps one to consider if you're looking for an enabler. Otherwise, you're not looking at Bournemouth again for a couple of weeks. I would be looking at more by Man City players, obviously, for this coming weekend. For Burnley, didn't help that Lyle Foster reported ill, for those who are wondering.
Didn't help on my Sky team either,
sorry about that, Jave. In the morning, so I presume he would come back in for the fixture against Palace at the weekend. I think if there's no Eze or Elise back for Palace, I think Burnley might beat them at the weekend, actually. Despite saying, I think you could invest in Palace defensively. I wouldn't be surprised if Burnley beat them. And they obviously would have been delighted to get themselves in front with a goal from 3.9 million Charlie Taylor, who can definitely be considered as a 15th player in your squad. However, you should know, I think it was his first goal since 2015, I think.
Okay, only the 8 years.
Just 8 years, long time. So don't expect anything in terms of that. But yeah, he probably stays in the team at the moment, I think. And their fixtures are good enough that you can rely on it. I've spoken a number of times about, say, if you're on Tottenham assets, Burnley got Sheffield United at home when Tottenham go to Manchester City. So he might come in useful for you. I might look at that as like gusto to Charlie Taylor and save a little bit of money that might enable other moves. Yes, Nico, turn that heater off, which we don't know why it just came on for no random reason.
On a thermostat or something, I don't know.
Otherwise, despite their good fixtures, you're not looking at it. So it's Taylor 3.9. Foster you could have a look at, but I think you might end up... Did he just turn it up louder?
Nah.
Foster you can obviously have a look at. And if you've got, I wouldn't sell. He did miss the game at the weekend for illness. Couple of controversial moments in the game. The offside. Have you seen the incident?
No.
So it looks like they made the right decision. 5 minutes it took.
Was it 5? I heard 7.
5 minutes. They put the line in the wrong place originally. Thank God they at least got it right. Because they showed it up for the graphic as in green to the commentators to say, it's onside. And then we're like, no, wait. So at least they got it right, however long it took. But it shouldn't take that long. As the Bournemouth fans were singing, it's embarrassing. Vincent Kompany had potential claims for a penalty at the end as well. But I know Bournemouth have had decisions certainly go against them this year as well. The two of these, unfortunately, they were the two, as we discussed on COTC, were kind of the cool kids. Everyone was thinking these two might surprise this year. I'm not seeing anything at the moment to make me think that's the case. And Burnley's problem, unfortunately, is defensively, despite saying, yeah, sure, get Taylor at 3.9, it's fine. defensively. They're going to concede too many goals. Cullen is suspended for the Palace game as well. Might be a miss, but it might mean that they go with a more natural double pivot because playing out from the back might not be as sophisticated as it normally would be for them, and it might help in a roundabouts way. And Palace, even against Burnley, Palace won't go in for a hard press, I don't think. They'll get a shock if they do, because I think Burnley might well beat them at the weekend.
Wolves 2, Newcastle 2.
Yeah, really enjoyed this.
Good result. I mean, you called a 1-1.
This was a really
you called a draw.
Really enjoyable.
I mean,
watch.
if you look at it on paper, fairly even in terms of chances created. Newcastle had the better XG, but in terms of shots and on goal, possession, if you look at corners or any of the traditional stats, it doesn't feel like it was a one-way game and someone nicked it on the counter or anything like that. A bit of yin and yang.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, all the good moments, so I'd say not all the good moments is incorrect, but a lot of the good moments was fast counter-attacking from both teams. You know, Newcastle carrying with people like Joel Linton, Almiron, Gordon, and Wolves the same with Neto, who's well, apparently it's not as bad.
Okay.
It's only going to be a couple of weeks, fortunately. And James notes that Tottenham are going to Wolves next week, so a couple of weeks is enough for me for him to be missing. But if you didn't, even when it happened, and I knew my team was the next team to go tomorrow, and you couldn't not think, oh, God, so unlucky for him. He's obviously had bad injury problems, but he gets the ball on the touchline, and he beats Burn, and Burn's on a booking, and you have that slight moment, you think, Burn's going to foul him here and he's going to get sent off. So he blitzes past him, Burn lets him go, and he's cutting in and he's running for goal. I think it was Hwang, might have been Cunha, made a lovely run to the right-hand side that just opened the space for him. And you think, he's going to bend this top bins here. And obviously as he comes in and you think he's going to lever it, he obviously pulls up, doesn't he? It was just awful timing. But it sounds like not serious, which is good news. And I know a lot of people will have invested in him recently. He's the highest assister in the Premier League at the moment this season. And the obvious move for a lot of people would be go to Hwang. It's Sheffield United next. But I'm not convinced it's that straightforward. And I reflect a lot on Gary O'Neill's comments from Monday Night Football last week, and I kind of had a real close look at them to see what they were system-wise at the weekend. And certainly it was, as I mentioned near the start, Ray and Aït-Nouri played on the left-hand side of midfield. It was basically a 4-4-2 that had a lean that at certain points could move into a back five. And Neto, despite playing kind of the symmetrical position to Aït-Nouri, if you will, did not have anywhere near the defensive responsibility. They wanted to leave him in high positions to use him for counter-attack. So Aït-Nouri played kind of a defensive left midfield role, if you will. Pedro Neto, a very offensive right-hand side midfield role. Probably what's more notable is what happened after Neto went off, which is Hwang had played centre forward with Cunha, and like many teams defended in a 4-4-2 without the ball. But when Neto went off, Hwang went wide, and so I'm not convinced how good that will be. And the reason I think that'll probably stick, and he probably will go back out wide and on the right, is if they're going to play that system, they want people who can potentially ball carry for them. And when I look at the profile of players amongst the rest of the squad, that doesn't really exist. He's the one. So I think it might be that he'll go wide. The other thing is to probably integrate Bellegarde back in the team. It might be that he plays off of Cunha. And in a roundabout way, he might be a really, really cheeky punt this week, Bellegarde, but you'd have to have some cojones because I can't even tell you that he'll play. So I wouldn't be rushing to Hwang. If you're on, cool, you're not moving, goes without saying. But I think if I was on Neto, I'd potentially look at a couple of alternatives rather than just going to Hwang.
He's at 5.8.
Despite the fact of playing Sheffield
So
United.
you could maybe go to Brighton, although Brighton ain't great shakes, but...
The goal is so good, by the way. That touch he takes is, try it. Where he chops back off the outside of his left and scores. Try it. That is some skill. Brilliant to keep his balance. It's one thing to do it, keep your balance and composure as well. He's in really good form. It's not to discourage owners. I'm just saying I wouldn't necessarily go Neto to Hwang. Defensively, it can be considered. Aït-Nouri is basically playing OOP at the moment.
What's your thoughts on Newcastle? You don't own any, do you? I'm still sitting there with
no.
Trippier. I mean, their fixtures aren't great. It's just more the sprinkling of when do the Champions League games come in between some of these. So Arsenal next week, but then Bournemouth, you'd think is a decent fixture. But they've got Champions League before that, haven't they?
Yeah.
And then you've got Chelsea, Man United. I mean, those depends what way you want to look at it. Could they be or not be then Everton further down the road. I'm just not ready to steam into them, to be honest with you, or need multiple.
The irony is, so many of us have always been saying, if one of them gets injured up front, I'm going to steam into the other one. And the problem was, for me, looking there with like Alvarez, Watkins, Haaland, it was just terrible.
How do you do it?
Because for me, even if I had gone, right, I'm going to cut Haaland this week, which I know a number of people did do, and I understand why that happened. But even if I'd have done, I wouldn't have gone to Wilson. I'd have gone to Nunes if I'd have gone that route. So it just felt like really bad time. And I know a number of people have gone Wilson on wildcard, and I get it. Really well done. And you'll be happy. Like, Arsenal at home is fine. I think he's got a decent historical record against Arsenal. Presumably he'll play. I guess he'll probably get a rest against Manchester United in the Carabao Cup on Wednesday. Then it's Champions League Tuesday. Then 4 days to Bournemouth. I'm pretty sure it's 5:30 kickoff as well. Is that 5:30s in a row for Newcastle? I think, I want to say. So I get it, but again, having now had Wolves go, Arsenal at home this week, I'm probably not buying Wilson this week. I think Anthony Gordon is still a good pickup for many people, obviously. Although note that Joe Willock is back fit, and that link up they have with Willock and Joel Linton on the left hand side did work really well for them last year. I don't think it's a concern for Gordon, but we might see Gordon and Almiron begin to compete with each other a little bit. I don't think that's an immediate, but it might be something to keep an eye on in forthcoming weeks. I think for most people, Trips would be a play against Arsenal. Purely because I don't think there's enough other great fixtures this week. I'm trying to think, like, if you had Tsimikas, sure. Cash at Forest, sure. Would you play Udogie or Porro over Trippier this week?
No. The fact
Probably
that it's
not
a
for me.
home fixture for Newcastle, probably not. No.
And I think you'd play Trippier over your Gabriel this week, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Just because of the offensive potential and stuff.
Yeah.
So
I
think for most people would still be playing Trips this week. Don't stress about the 0 pointer. That can happen. He still put some delightful balls into the box, by the way. So, yeah, no Newcastle for me at the moment. I think it'll probably stay that way for a while, actually. So,
West Ham 0, Everton 1. Sean Dyche doing the business for Everton.
Is that who you want to take over from David Moyes, is it?
No. No. How's Graham Potter getting on in France? Is he doing shit?
Graham Potter took a job.
Didn't he go to France? I thought he was going to go to France, wasn't he?
No.
Oh, he didn't go there. Okay, no, I want Graham Potter to take over.
I don't think so. You got me questioning now. I mean, Dyche and Moyes are one and the same anyway, aren't they?
Pretty much. One's just got a bit more hair. It wasn't a good game of football, to be honest, to watch. I'm assuming you didn't watch it. You did.
Yeah, I recorded it. I watched the games about an hour and a half later than everyone else.
Recap then, but it was the first half. I mean, this is potentially a blueprint for playing against West Ham, but let us have the ball, because we don't have the ability to raise the intensity and then break a team down and score. And Everton, to be fair, the defensive shape was really good. And whilst in the first half, I don't think we felt threatened at all. They might have had one or two chances on the counter, just never really felt threatened, but also didn't feel like we had the urgency to go and take the game to them and break it down. Obviously, Kudus came into the team for Souček, and Creswell came into the team for suspended Emerson. Emerson will come back.
Yeah.
Now Paqueta and Alvarez are both suspended for the game against Brentford.
So Souček and Benrahma
will come back in now. So we ended up with a 4-2-3-1 with everyone's been moaning about Ward-Prowse playing deeper, which he has for the last few weeks, but it's to kind of facilitate a 4-2-3-1.
Well, he'll have to against Brentford.
Kudus now playing as a 10 in the middle, Paqueta on the left, Bowen on the right with Antonio up top. But I think that's clearly not how we're going to be able to line up against Brentford. But as the game went on, the thing is, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, he didn't have to do much, but he's the kind of player, I've never really thought of him as physically particularly imposing or strong, but he can bully centre-backs when he gets the opportunity. He did it on a few occasions where the ball's played into him and he came alive, and he physically is really, really good at hold-up and strength play. And that's how he got his goal, right? Holding off the defender, finding a bit of space and good finish into the bottom corner. But there were a couple of other occasions where you're like, you know what? If they can get the ball into him, he doesn't need a lot around him to cause a bit of damage and chaos. And he played really well. So him being fit, I think, for Everton is going to be really important.
Yeah, and I think the wide players as well, that Harrison contributes as well, I think. Yep. McNeil works ever so hard. His delivery's quite good.
Yeah, I thought Everton defensively, like, really good, really kept their shape, didn't let us have a lot of good chances, and then did what they needed to on the counter and nicked the goal from the one chance they had. West Ham, I think, is defensively continue to leak goals. This has been a problem for forevermore. We'll always leak a stupid goal from a mistake or something dumb like that. I would never back us.
Clean sheet this year. As one, isn't it? Sheffield United. Oh God, so we're not meaning to pick intentionally. It's just happening.
But yeah, it wasn't good. And then when the time comes to up the intensity, you kind of worry. Where's that intensity coming from? Like, if you're looking at Danny Ings coming on with 15 minutes to go or 10 minutes to go,
I didn't get that he brought Souček on.
Yeah.
And then Souček ended up playing quite deep.
Yeah.
So when he brought him on, I assumed you basically...
You brought him on for Ward-Prowse.
Yeah, but I assumed from there he was almost basically going to go into the box, right, as an aerial target and just be a nuisance, if you will. Because at his best for West Ham, he's a penalty box player. He's the opposite to, say... You remember the old stat about Ruben Neves?
He never touches the ball.
Never touches the ball in either
area.
penalty area.
Yeah.
Right, Souček's one, you only want him to touch the ball in the penalty area because he's very good, obviously, defensively, aerially, and very good offensively as well. So you kind of want to miss him out on the play. And the amount of time he's standing there on the ball and everyone going, what you got, mate?
Yeah.
And I think, get him off the ball and get him into the areas where he can hurt and show his strengths. And yeah, it kind of progressively got probably more and more frustrating, I should imagine, for you as it went on.
At probably 65, 70 minutes, I thought we can turn up the intensity and get an equaliser. I didn't think we'd go on and win, but I did think we could get an equaliser. But come 75, 80 minutes, you're like, actually, no, this is going to peter out.
It just felt
nothing.
like it was going to have to fall to Bowen, who had chances.
He was the liveliest of
absolutely.
the attack. He's always there. I mean, he's actually developed his game a lot. He uses his body shape and strength really well. He's not scared to get kicked. You know how some players...
Couple more headed efforts again?
He did, and he should have done better with maybe one or two of them. I think if you own Bowen, he's all right because he's still in and around all of the creative stuff. But I wouldn't be looking particularly anywhere elsewhere. West Ham this season... We're going to go and lose to Brentford. Then we're going to comfortably beat Forest and Burnley and probably draw at Palace. Then we're going to lose at Spurs.
Hope so.
And then draw at Fulham. Like, we're going to win some of these games really comfortably. And we're also going to just be rubbish in some of these games. I just don't think you can predict what's going to happen. And it's all down to mentality. It's not down to talent.
I'd tell you how I feel about Bowen. I think he had chances and could have scored. I think some of his finishing let him down a bit, but certainly West Ham's liveliest from a fantasy perspective during the game. I look at your fixtures up until when I'll probably wildcard in Gameweek 19, and there's Tottenham away is the worst of that 15. Then probably the next worst is Brentford away this week, and then Manchester United at home, debatable in Gameweek 18, which is going to be fine when City
what are they going to do? Play
Lindelof
there?
Whatever, right? So I look at, and I feel a little bit with him. Like, having made the commitment to go there, a little bit like the insistence I had in the first sort of, in the August period about Watkins. I'm going to want Watkins for that brilliant run of fixtures. I know his consistency can stay there. And that's my take with Jared Bowen.
Yeah.
He's in now. I've committed to it. Don't think, oh my God, because I see people selling him already and he might lose value. I went through that with Watkins. You hold your nerve, you keep the player. That's how I'd feel about
Bowen. I put him in
Bowen.
a similar bracket to what I saw with Diaby in the last few weeks, in that he was still there or thereabouts. He was still creative. It's going to come for Jared Bowen. It might frustrate where it's, again, another 2, but then it might be a 14, 15-pointer coming in. So I would hold tight. What's your thoughts around Everton?
I'll tell you what my thoughts are.
What's 3 minus 12?
They won't get a 12-point deduction. Hey, do you know what's really annoyed me this week, because it's been reported badly, where the Premier League recommended that was the maximum punishment that the independent commission could give Everton, and it was reported as the Premier League said that's what they want. That's not what the Premier League want. But of course, that doesn't sell the newspapers and sell the clicks as it is. The Premier League said 12 points. It's extremely unlikely Everton will get a points deduction that big. If they got one, I imagine it would be 2-3 points, something like that would be my guess. Otherwise, Man City might well be playing in the National League North in a few years. The player you had on your screen, Suj, it was a moment in the second half. Actually, no, it was in the first half, where the ball went down your right-hand attacking touchline. Looked like Antonio was in a foot race with Jared Brantwaite. And Brantwaite outpaced him, and he got there.
He had a good game. I mean,
and do you know what went through my mind?
What?
Tottenham Hotspur are giving you notice. We are interested.
he played well. I'm not gonna lie. They had, it was a tough game because we had so much of the ball.
The two centre backs were fantastic.
They were really good. And
They
I
were
thought
brilliant.
Garner as well had a decent game as well.
I like James Garner.
In getting about the pitch a little bit. I think that they're all right, Everton. I like Calvert-Lewin's price at 5.8. Not right now, but maybe if he can prove
Brighton
that
at
he's
home
going to
is
stay
perfectly reasonable.
If he can prove he's going to stay fit.
If I said to you now, take a 1 week punt on Calvert-Lewin at home to Brighton or on Nketiah at Newcastle, where's your money going?
Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah, definitely.
I think I'd think about it. Like, I'm really tempted with Arsenal as a better team with more creative players to create more chances.
Just looking at the 1 week.
But Calvert-Lewin doesn't need a lot, and I saw enough from him. I thought he played well. I thought Everton fans will come away from it happy in that, you know what, they didn't create a lot, they didn't need to, but defensively they didn't let us create a lot either. So, not steaming into Everton, not steaming into West Ham.
I'm just thinking for him, it's probably been well documented. I managed to get it in every week. Their fixtures are terrible for a really, really long time. But you look at the next four for him, Calvert-Lewin, Brighton and Manchester United at home, away games at Palace and Forest. Not terrible.
No.
Not terrible. You will buy worse people in FPL this year than punting Calvert-Lewin for a few weeks. I agree if you were looking a little longer term, maybe Nketiah, if Jesus was out injured for a while. But even that, so I think even for 1 week or even over a number of weeks, I'd arguably say Calvert-Lewin over Nketiah at this moment in time. The problem with Brantthwaite is, and a few people asked me about him last week, he's cheap as... He's going to play every week.
He's first
Everton
choice.
have been much better since he come in the team. Sean Dyer should be sitting there thinking, I should have done this in game week 1, I think. But I don't see where you're ever going to pick him. And it just makes me think you might as well go for Taylor at 3.9, who might be useful in terms of, like that Burnley-Sheffield United game, or go to Baldock at 3.8.
Yep.
You're just not going to start him, I don't think, with the fixtures that they've got.
There's a team in Claret and Blue that do know how to play football at home, mate, and that's Aston Villa. So 3-1. I mean, did we learn anything other than this is what we expected? I didn't think Luton were going to score.
We learned that that's one of the funniest own goals of the season.
Yeah, I didn't. Okay, fair
that's
play.
A brilliant clean sheet wipeout after most of us had Kashi come off a few minutes earlier.
It was unfortunate. I doubled up on Aston Villa in another format, but yeah, look, I'm glad that Diaby's come back in and got that 13-pointer. I've tripling up on Villa. It kind of feels like when I had that triple up on City. If it's not Cash and Watkins, 2 out of the 3 will kind of chip in with returns, and they've had the clean sheet wipeout, and Matt Cash has still got a 5-pointer there. So between the 3 of them is 20 points, which I'll take week in, week out, and it's for much less value than anyone from Man City, for example. So yeah, decent, but some people now will be thinking like Douglas Luiz, 5.6.
Only an assist, what a letdown.
Yeah, or John McGinn.
No, you go Louise over McGinn because of the set plays McGinn and stuff. Yeah.
But do you think it almost becomes you've only got 3 slots for Aston Villa? Watkins kind of picks himself. If you want a bit of defensive coverage, then you're going maybe Cash or Martinez. Then you've only got one other slot.
I bought Bowen this week, and it could have been Diaby or Louise, right?
Yeah.
And I chose not that. I chose the kind of the clear talisman, if you will. And as I said earlier, a lot of people were saying about selling Diaby this week, and I couldn't have it. Yeah. I also don't mind if people do now, though.
Sell him.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing on Villa now. Now you've kind of got the best fixture out of the way, this Luton game. You do look ahead and you start going, that's a bit tougher now, longer term. The one thing for me as a 19 wildcarder that I keep looking at, and I'm sorry, who are they playing in game week 18, Serge? The blank game week.
You tell me.
Sheffield United at home. And I keep thinking, I might be catching Watkins in that week. Do I want to, and I'm not thinking of taking him out now, by the way, but when you look at, say, them playing City and Arsenal in a row in 15, 16, and also a trip to Brentford in 17, they go to Tottenham in 13, you do think, well, can I make some gains with someone else over this period? And I think my take on it will be the same with him. You'll just be Mr. Consistency. You can hang around and stay.
The thing is, it comes back down to what I like to do with this game is just pick good players from good teams. And Villa are a really good team. Like, I know on a couple of radio shows and stuff, they joke around about could they challenge for the title? No. But could they be in and around the European spots and maybe challenge for top 4? They'd have to have a hell of a consistent run. But they're good enough. It's good players from good teams, mate.
Right now, are Manchester United or Chelsea any better than Villa?
No.
Are Brighton better than Villa?
No, not on current form.
So at the moment, we're
Not on
saying
current form.
we think they finished top 6.
And you'd say like the irony is like, where are they versus Newcastle? Because they're well above Newcastle in the table. Newcastle battered them. So
and
where
so
are
did
they versus
Liverpool.
Newcastle? Yeah.
But what is it? 7 wins and a draw from the
rest.
other 8.
Yeah, and you can afford to do that if you're
put
picking
that
up
consistency
good results
together.
From the other games. I
Yeah.
could see Luton get into the Bournemouth game in game week 17 and not picking up another point.
The fixtures are bad.
Liverpool, United, Palace, Brentford, which is away, Arsenal, Man City.
A lot of people ended up with Issa Kabore in their team this week. At least he played. I think they've got more about them than Sheffield United. I'm very clear with that now. At least they show variation and variety of what they do. They went to more of a 5-4-1 in this one, which I understand. Try and frustrate. Didn't particularly work. They weren't overly a threat in the game. The goal they scored is obviously quite laughable from a Villa perspective. It's better to do that at 3-0 up than 0-0, for example. So no, we wouldn't be looking at Luton. I think if you've got to this point and you've still got Morris, for example, you'd be looking to move that on. We've just talked about Calvert-Lewin and Ketcher, those type of players, João Pedro. You'd be looking to move that, I think. If you've got Kabore, it's probably really not worth kind of shoving it about. The big problem for them is like they've got so many issues defensively now. Gabriel Osho came straight back in, who arguably might be part of their first team, but they've shoved him straight in because obviously Anderson's got a hamstring injury, Bell's got a hamstring injury, and Burke's also picked up a hamstring injury. You can make a case that might be their first choice back three, bar Tom Lockyer. So they've got problems defensively as well. But at least they've shown they've got a little bit of variety in terms of how they play. And I imagine that system they used at Villa will be the system they use against Liverpool, and they'll try and lock that down. But yeah, if you're intending to captain Mo Salah this week because you're a non-Haaland owner, I certainly wouldn't shit yourself. Just one more thing on Villa, Suj, talking about holding Watkins when those fixtures get tougher. Might be easier to move on cash though.
Okay.
But I'm still looking at it the same way for me and thinking, well, when they do play City Arsenal, if I want to bench him, I'd almost rather bench him because he'll be such a good asset for 18 than that blank.
Brighton 1, Fulham 1. Didn't see this come in.
Well, according to Roberto De Zerbi, there's only one team played.
What, football?
Yeah.
Was it Paulinho that went in with the elbow, by the way?
Can we just acknowledge just how pink that kit is? It's fine, but
I'm not colourist, but I don't. Because here's the thing:
isn't it?
Areola's kit in our game, the goalkeeping kit is exactly the same.
It's not as bright as that Fulham one.
His was bright.
It's like a
pink. I thought they were
neon
the same. They're really bright pink. I don't like it. That's all I can say. Like, I'm not pinkist, but as a football kit, I just didn't like it. It just felt a bit bright.
Anyway, to answer your question, that pink elbow probably should have been noticed.
That was, that was.
It's red.
That's
a red card.
mate.
Yeah.
That's a cheek breaker.
I don't know if he meant it. I'm not sure, but it's bad.
He led with his elbow, mate. I mean, if I was barging into someone, if thinking about me doing it, I would know what I was doing if I led with my elbow that way. I couldn't do it accidentally.
Yeah, that was red. And then obviously
Scores a goal.
He scores a great goal. And he's a great player. We speak about him so much. He's so crucial to them as a football team.
Ferguson took his goal well.
He's a really good forward, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I know we've talked about these comparisons with Kane, but the finish is kind of like you'd think Kane would hit the ball like that and stick it in the bottom corner.
Yeah, just stroke it in.
I want to make him his own man. We don't want to just.
Did you see Harry's goal at the weekend, by the way?
Yes.
He's been threatening that for years.
Yeah. It was the commentary that
They won 8-0.
It was as if the commentator was like shocked by it.
They won 8-0. Do you know what minute they scored their first goal in?
No.
No, I don't know, but it was 0-0 with about 35 minutes to go, and they won 8-0.
Okay.
Anyway, that's off topic. More interesting.
What's that Farmers League he's playing in now? What's it called?
Harsh. The Bundesliga. It's very good, actually. Brighton changed system quite significantly. So played a back three with Adam Webster coming into the team. And I wasn't aware of this because the 2 o'clock games, I wasn't aware of the scores. other than what Sky was showing, like, because I was watching West Ham, Everton and the Manchester Derby as if they were live just a bit later in the day.
Yeah.
So when I saw the team afterwards, and I was like, oh my God, shit, Mitoma and Adingra as wing-backs. Oh no, you're joking. Can't be having that. And then
7-0 games at the weekend.
And then, was it not 8-0 Bayern?
7-0. Oh, no. Where are we going?
You're looking at a different game, aren't you?
That was earlier in the season. It was 8-0. What did I just call that league?
Don't be harsh.
51st minute.
Let me tell you, if West Ham were in this Farmers League, you wouldn't win it.
Probably not.
And most of us wouldn't finish above Bayern in it.
Because Bayern scored 8 goals from the 51st minute, and Harry Kane only scored 3 of them.
What an average player.
Useless.
Anyway, Brighton did play a back three, but they didn't. They did not play with wing backs. If you look at average positions from the game, remarkably, Mitoma and Adingra still by a distance the highest average positions for Brighton. So they basically played kind of their own box in midfield with 2 sitters. And Gross and Lallana played at the top of that. So it was Dahoud and who played in midfield with Dahoud.
Gilmore?
No. I'll tell you. It's escaped me.
I can tell you.
Gilmore came on as a substitute, Serge. But they played with Lallana and Gross played higher position. If Gross would play there regularly, it'd be a fascinating fantasy. Balaba, yes, thank you, Serge. Yes, Balaba played with Dahoud in a deeper role. Gross and Lallana played higher than that. Ferguson, rather than Brighton normally have their number 9s like to drop short, it was just Ferguson doing that, and still the 2 wingers massively high and wide all the way through. So almost like a 3-2-2-3 system for Brighton. Whether that will stick, I don't know, but there are obviously issues in the central forward position at the moment with, obviously, Welbeck's got an injury. There's also issues in the wide areas with Solly Marsh's obviously serious injury as well. The one thing that makes me think that probably won't stick as a system much is the imminent return of Purvis Estupiñán, who there was a little bit of speculation that he might have been back for this game on Sunday. And with Brighton's fixtures, he's going to be worth a look. Mr. Estupiñán, as soon as he's back available. I
thought he dropped back down to him price.
I think he's back to 5. I think the start,
5.
despite, I think he's the most sold player in the game across since the start. But I think he's still 5, I want to say, Serge. But yeah, eyes on radar because, again, they have, take game week 13 is another week where it looks really rough, I think, for defensive assets. Part with, Tottenham and Villa play each other, so you might have like Udogie going up against Cash. You got Man City and Liverpool playing each other, so you got Shimikas going to the Etihad, for example. Arsenal go to Brentford. It's not the easiest fixture. Newcastle play Chelsea as well. So there's a lot of that week for the defensive assets really doesn't look great. And when you look through the game week 13 fixtures, you kind of go, I wouldn't mind having this Estupiñán at Nottingham Forest. That's all right. So I think things like that means it will very, very quickly come back of interest and on radar. Is people are not going to like their defensive look this week either as well, potentially, with, say, Newcastle and Arsenal playing each other. Tottenham playing Chelsea doesn't look great for the likes of Udogie, Porro, I don't think. Although I do think both those games would be low scoring. But Estupiñán would be right on radar straight away, unless he comes into the team and plays left-sided centre-back. But I don't think that would be the case because I think they're trying to get Igor Julio established and it's natural for him to play left of Lewis Dunk. So I do think when Estupiñán returns, they'll probably go to a back 4. This may well have been a one-off. Fulham, when Paulinho is available, are a very difficult football team to beat. I would not be surprised if they beat Manchester United on Saturday.
Liverpool 3, Forest 0. Got a couple of games to rattle through, James. Again, this is one where I don't know if we learnt anything.
No, not really.
I think the one thing that I would say is, obviously, I thought Forest, when they want to settle in and dig in, they can be defensively a bit difficult to break down. But like we said, in a lot of games, when you come across teams with the, let's call it a low block, if you score early, it's a completely different game, isn't it? And Liverpool did. And I think that's the difference is when you come across teams that sit in, score early, Liverpool did, with Jota as well taking goal. And that's it. It is what it is.
Yeah, nice touch from Jota as well. Obviously showing the shirt. And I don't know if you saw, he did say, and a lot of us were saying this was probably the easiest Liverpool lineup to predict for a really long time. He did say that Diaz would have started, and he said, I started in his place.
Yeah.
So it was obviously intended that Diaz would have started.
Diaz would
which
have been on the
makes
back
sense
post to
because
put it away, but
Jota only played, I think, 59, and he'd played a number of minutes on Thursday, so it did become quite obvious that it wasn't the intention for him to start. So I think once they got the game won and felt comfortable, they've obviously taken him off. Touch wood for Diaz and his family. He's a player I really, really like and stuff as well. It possibly is, unfortunately, maybe going to have to be a sell, obviously, if maybe he's going to be unavailable this weekend, and who knows, right? He might be one of them that needs time and space away for a number of weeks, or he might be one of them who
needs football
needs to play. And
yeah,
absolutely. And, players will be different under that circumstance. There's no way of knowing particularly. So if you are sitting there as an owner, just sit tight for the minute, because if it comes out on Friday, oh yeah, he wants to play on Sunday, then he'll play and you'd want him with the fixture away to Luton. What I learned most from this match is that Matt Turner probably owns Mo Salah in FPL. That's what I learned most. It's an absolute disastrous goal. Mo takes it really well as he does naturally, and it makes it all look so effortless when compare Salah and how he finishes to what Morpay was doing at Stamford Bridge. He makes it look so easy. But I think this was one, for those of us who've not on, this was arguably the most scary one, was this one actually. So I feel like I've come out of that
way.
right.
I think I'm a little more scared of, to be honest with you.
Not particularly, because like for me, I've got the best captain going into this week with Haaland, in my opinion. Whereas this week, I was absolutely adamant, and I know there was a lot of debate about best captaincy. For me, it was clearly Salah. Okay, we can look at outcome afterwards, but for me, Mo Salah. Admittedly, the goal he scored is with his only shot. If you look at the underlying this week, there's a case to say Watkins should have outscored.
It was Salah's shot that was the rebound for Jota's goal, no?
No, Salah put Núñez in.
Oh, it was Núñez'
shot
shot.
Was saved.
Sorry.
Núñez, if hypothetical, Ollie Watkins got injured in midweek for whatever reason, Villa don't have a fixture, so he shouldn't, I would just buy Núñez straight away, I think. He's the player that I'm looking at going, I want, but I don't. I've got Watkins at Forest and I've got Alvarez and Haaland at home to Bournemouth. Like, I don't need to do anything, do I? But he'd be the one player, almost as much as Salah at the moment, thinking, I wish he was in that team. Really, really do. I think he's going to have a great spell. And I think he should be strongly considered for people. Think about as well with the fact that they're playing Luton this week. What's Luton's strength?
I don't think they have one.
That's really harsh. They're a good physical team, aren't they?
They've got size. They've got height. They've got a bit of strength, yeah.
Yeah, and most big clubs will struggle against that a little bit. What does Darwin offer Liverpool?
Physicality.
Yeah, whether that's direct balls, smash the ball up the pitch, in behind, crosses from wide, or whatever you want with him. Mr. Chaos, I think, is going to have a really, really good period in FPL. And like I said, if I lost one of the forwards through injury, I'd go straight to him. Wouldn't be a doubt in my mind from that perspective. I don't think I can go from Alvarez to Núñez. But if I lost
that, you don't have enough money.
No. But let's just say Alvarez, again, City don't have a game this midweek, so it shouldn't be a problem.
7.2 is Alvarez. I don't know what you make on him. Maybe 6.8.
I think I bought 6.7 or 6.8. I think I can't remember. It wouldn't be enough anyway to get to Núñez. I know that because I've already looked. I would possibly take a -4 to get him.
But you wouldn't do it this week anyway. With Alvarez has got
but if say Alvarez was out for whatever reason, we knew that, then I would possibly consider going down that route.
Or Watkins.
That said,
there's no Europe
he's talking
this week,
about benching like Saka, Bowen, or Mitoma. It's like you don't need to.
Yeah.
You don't need to. I get that. Shimikas is going to be really popular again. It's kind of inevitable, wasn't it? I think those of us went early. It was like, get it because of what it can be. 2 clean sheets, you take it at that price, just ticking over, and there's every reason to think there might be another one this weekend as well. Then it's Brentford at home. It's not a bad fixture either. Again, I just think people want to have a consciousness about particularly Gameweek 13 and what defensive players they want to play in that week.
Last but not least, Manchester Derby, mate. Manchester United 0, Man City 3. Again, we're talking about games where we didn't learn much. I mean, we're talking about surprise with
I learned a lot in this one.
We're surprised about the Man United lineup more than anything else. But you know how Man City can beat teams comfortably in second gear sometimes? This is exactly that, right? And you look at it as Haaland scored 2, picked up an assist. There was the one at the start, which was kind of a scramble off the line from Onana's save. He had the back post header before he scored the back post header. He could have put it in for a hat-trick rather than squaring it to Foden. He had another shot that was saved as well. Like this, the XG for Man City was, 4?
It's the second highest of any team in the Premier League game this season.
4?
Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah,
And
Brighton against Luton
3.
was the only one bigger.
And the goals they scored probably only make up like 1.5 or 2 out of that XG. I kind of feel like, and that's just Haaland we're talking about here. Like that, he was in beast mode. But if I'd said to you that's the team he's going to come up, that's the defence he's going to come up against, you would have said it.
Do you know what it was? And again, it's not we're captain Arsenal's talisman against Sheffield United. Like I still think the decision's fine, but it's the first week all season, and I don't think there'll be another week all season. I flip flop in the captaincy so much, because even though I didn't have Salah, I had 3 great alternatives to consider. And I promise you, Tuesday night after United played Copenhagen, I left it overnight with Haaland captain. I was like, what is there to fear here with this? If Copenhagen are cutting through them like this and having these sort of chances, and it wasn't like we hadn't seen that before. Wolves opening day, Forest that Awoniyi goal early in the season, right? The shitty goal that they conceded to Brentford. There's other teams that had gone up there and given them real problems. And this arguably, with respect to those teams, was the first really, Galatasaray scored 3 there as well, was the first really good team they were going to play at Old Trafford. And it did. We spoke about it on Friday. It had all that hallmarks of that Salah hat-trick at Old Trafford. And to be honest, to say the game wasn't dissimilar would be a little bit unfair, because I think United actually started all right in the opening 10 minutes or so. They had a couple of moments where they were quite direct, give City a few moments. McTominay had a good effort just before half-time as well. But ultimately, by the end, it was just as easy. It should be noted on that occasion, Liverpool stopped playing at 5-0 and couldn't be bothered. Otherwise, they'd have got 8 or 9 that day, I think. And it was never quite this case for Manchester City, but they won so easily. The difference in quality between them two teams, monstrous by the end. And I think it's easy just to talk about United, kick a man while he's down and stuff like that. This was City's best performance for a long time as well. Probably since the Real Madrid semi-final, I would have said, in the Champions League.
Rodri's back in the team, and Bernardo's in there giving them control in midfield, and Grealish is back.
I think the other big one is obviously the narrative around Rodri's return and their results in the couple of games without him is obvious. For me, equally as massive. That return of John Stones.
Yeah.
Huge, because no one else in that squad makeup can do quite what John Stones can do. We saw it kind of ugliness in like game week 2 when Akanji played from centre back, moved into midfield. John Stones floats around the pitch, and the problem is the rest of that team is so good. I don't think you can just look at, let's man mark John Stones and stop him doing that, because you need to get men behind the ball, right? And as soon as you squeeze and press them and get it wrong, you're dead, as United found out a little bit with a couple of the goals yesterday. I mean, the second goal starts from Ederson playing direct. I know Ederson's pass percentage distance was quite long yesterday, and it's just bypassing when United went into press, just looking for spare man, and he was really good. He made a couple of really good saves, and I should say Onana made a couple of good saves in the game as well. But yeah, that was City. You'd look at City on that yesterday and you go, yeah, they're still the best team in this league, if anyone was doubting it. And they're all fit, bar Kevin De Bruyne. And I think they'll do really well over this period. There's difficult games to come after Bournemouth. It's Chelsea away. There's Liverpool at home. There's Tottenham at home. Then there's Villa away. That's a really tough run of games. And I think a lot who are still on Haaland, who may have this week been thinking of selling and kept, might be looking at selling again in game week 12. I think probably the lesson I learned from yesterday is, particularly with those 2 home games against Liverpool and Tottenham, definitely don't fear it. As in captain Haaland. Definitely don't fear it. It's perfectly reasonable. I think Liverpool and Tottenham will give space, right?
Yep.
Neither of those 2 teams are going to go to the Etihad and think, and they're obviously tough games for City, neither of those 2 teams are going to go there and go, what you got, and sit in front of them like United tried to do a lot of the game yesterday, and they still created chances. And again, that's because United have got so much, poor individually and a poor team at the moment. But Tottenham are going to go to City. You can laugh at me at this. Tottenham are going to go to City and they're going to try and beat them. Mm-hmm. And he'll have space. Now, Tottenham have the recovery pace in the likes of Van der Ven and Romero, but there'll be opportunities. Against Liverpool, there'll be opportunities.
There's always opportunities for Haaland.
I mean, look at the goal that Chelsea conceded to Pinnock at the weekend. Imagine if that's Haaland on the back post.
Well, I mean, he had 2 back posts, so he should have scored. He scored 1 out of the 2 yesterday. So, going to ask you.
Go on.
Penalty?
Yeah, for me it is, but it might not be next week. That's the problem, isn't it?
I think we're all in agreement. It's like, okay, you can't argue that he's pulled him back, sure. What about every other time that it's happened over the weekend? I think everybody, from what I was thinking, was let's hope it happens at the other end because let's see if they're consistent enough to do it. But you don't want consistency in the game. You know what? You want consistency across the league.
The big problem for Haaland in this incident as well is as Rodri's kind of turning to make everybody aware, Haaland's still holding him. If at that moment where Rodri turns, he lets go, he gets away with it. But his arm's still there, and you can tell it's quite like a firm arm is holding. Yeah, that's the problem. I just want to see it given next week and stuff.
It happens all the time. It was a real frustration. But yeah,
I didn't agree. There was part saying as well it was because there's every chance he would have got to the header. I don't think that's been the
irrelevant.
Case because Diogo Dalot's position on that was so disastrously deep that he ended up heading it away, ironically. For United, I keep hearing talk of people wanting to buy back into Manchester United this week. It's Fulham away, then there's Luton at home, and then it's Everton away. It is a good free run of fixtures. Do you think if their mentality's not right, that they're getting stuff at Fulham and Everton?
No.
And it's not to say that it won't be right.
No.
But I don't feel any want to have any part of that at all.
We talked about Calvert-Lewin bullying centre-backs. I mean, him against Evans or Maguire or whoever he is up against, maybe Varane gets back into the team, but he'll be looking forward to that, I think, as a game. I
can only assume, personally, that Varane wasn't fully fit.
Has to be.
I don't understand that. I mean, look back at Johnny Evans on the 3rd goal. What is that? And I wanted to use him as an example rather than just pick on Maguire for bits. But they get pulled all over the place on the 2nd goal. I forget who it was. Someone didn't track, and to be fair, Evans had to come in and track. It might have even been Rodri's run into the box that leaves Haaland free. I mean, that's exactly what you want, isn't it? Haaland free in the box time and time again. So I don't know what the situation is there with Raphael Varane. He obviously perhaps doesn't fancy Reguilon, who is a player I obviously know well, is not great defensively. But you've moved. I think Victor Lindelof, I'm pretty sure most Manchester United fans would agree with this. When he's played centre-back over the last 6, 7, 8 months, has done pretty well. He's not a left-back. So
when Reguilon's on the bench as well, I know Reguilon's just come back from injury, but I think a lot of people were questioning why leave a left-back on the bench and then play a right-footed centre-back at left-back. Well, it doesn't make sense.
Look, Maguire has done all right recently, right? And we always stick up for him when he plays for England and stuff. He's never going to be Manchester United's long-term solution. This is exactly what me and Gary spoke about last week on the Fan View, was like, you're just plugging problems, just making different problems. Stop doing that. Find yourself a vision. And, you know, if the vision is sticking with Erik ten Hag and letting him get more players from the Eredivisie, then good luck to you and all that stuff. I don't think necessarily changing is the right thing to do, by the way, because I think the club's rotten to its core through it. There is, I want to use a stronger word than mentality. There's something wrong with that football club throughout.
People use the word culture. It's a cultural problem.
Culture is fine, yeah.
Right. We're going to do some questions that we've had in on X, James.
By the way, don't mind Mr. Phil Foden as a 1-week punt.
Any time with him, to be fair. He left my wildcard team just because there was better options available, but you know that he's the type of player anytime that can return. What is he? 7.5, I would say.
Yeah, it's similar price to Bowen. So
very good
if you're feeling ugly about it and you got 2 frees, like I don't mind dip that and dip back.
Yeah, so for example, if Luis Diaz is going to be out for a couple of weeks and wasn't going to play, I'd just go sideways straight away. And there's no money involved in that one as well. James, got a few questions in. Best budget midfielder for the next 4.
We got a price on this?
I've got 4 players. Douglas Luiz, Gordon, Palmer, Adingra. So there's 5 million is the price.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with that. He should have scored on the back post in the game yesterday. Kind of half-hearted went for it, and if he goes with it with full conviction, he probably scores.
Joachim Anderson as a replacement for Udogie?
I'd go Gay.
Yeah, we always say just pick the cheaper one because there's no value in the additional price. He's got a tax for the early season goals, isn't he? Which are not going to be there for the.
I get it. That goal, by the way, that we conceded, as in my team Tottenham, was such a bad goal to concede because it highlights a problem that many of us have known. There is that you can target Porro on the back post, and it's worth saying that's his first real mistake. Playing in a position most of us and in a system most of us thought he wouldn't be able to do. But I don't know what happens to him there and why he doesn't win the header. And then obviously Palace were just targeting that, and other teams will look to do that as well, and that's a little bit concerning.
Alfie Clark, hold Mbomo or sell him for Diaby/Mitoma?
Oh, I'd hold him this week. Hold Mbomo this week with West Ham having no Alvarez particularly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'd say hold for this week.
He will almost definitely go back to 4-3-3, so he'll probably play on the right side. I mean, is Emerson some sort of world-class left-back defensively now, Serge? Or he's better the other way, isn't he?
No,
so
exactly. But he hasn't got he was better the other way because he had his mate Paqueta and those two had a good link-up. Now, he's not even going to be playing, so who's he going to link up with? Benrahma?
I would keep Mbumo this week now, yeah.
Jay Arvin says, what's the best defence to target for the next 6 to 8 game weeks? So he's looking for quite a long term.
As in invest in a defensive team? I'd still buy Gabriel. Sorry. I'd still would be the one for me. And if I'd have ever had the luxury to move from Saliba to Gabriel at any point, I would have done it. And you know what? I might well do that again in a couple of weeks and come back to it. Because I might look at 13 and go, and it's not brilliant, but I'll go Saliba and Gabriel. I could see me doing that if I don't invest in another Arsenal offensive player. I might do that. So, yes, Shimikas is the one, I think, if you're not on.
Well, then explain this to David Hunter. What have I/Gabriel done to Arteta that forces him to be benched every week that I own him? David, I'm sure it's not your fault.
Have you still got Butman, by the way?
Nah.
Or do you got Reed?
Yeah, ages ago.
Do you had him twice and you never got a minute out of him, did you?
I owned him twice this season and I've never had a minute out of him. And the 1 week that I didn't was when he scored. And a clean sheet. What was he, 12, 15 points that week? Whatever it was.
I just think, to be honest, this is the thing, to over it's Sheffield United, well, we can't rotate players. Good team challenging for the title rests players in home game against weakest team in the league. Why are we that shocked, really? Yeah. So, and it might be they play Burnley in a couple of weeks. It might be Saliba's turn. I suspect probably not, by the way, but yeah, I just think it was a rest because he's played twice for Brazil and then had them 2 intense games. I don't think there'd be more to it. So, yeah, I'll sell him. I'll go and buy him at 4.6 next time.
Let's answer Matt's question as the last question of the show, James. In your opinion, which club has been the most disappointing so far?
It's probably got to be Chelsea over Manchester United.
Because Man United's still on 15 points.
No, just purely as well, Chelsea's fixture list has largely been really good as well, right? So Chelsea's fixtures should not be, what, they're on 12 points from 10?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not even going to say what, if we beat them Monday, I'm not even going to say what the distance is between the two teams because no one would even believe it, I don't think.
18 points, James. 29 to 12.
Keep going.
17.
That's unthinkable, isn't it? I mean, that's not catchable,
After 10 games, we talk about 2 points a game is what you need to get Champions League. You're 2 points a game nearly, more, 1.7 points a game, more than them.
But if Chelsea lose Monday, listen, it's still close enough that if they start winning games of football and put yourselves back in contention for a Champions League place. But you'd have to think, if they ended up with, you'd look at them now, you go, there's no chance they finish above Liverpool, Arsenal or Man City, right?
No chance.
And then if they're, 17 points behind Tottenham?
No chance.
With the fixtures they've got coming up as well.
They're 10 points behind Villa right now. It's a point a game. It's a lot to make up. I said a number of weeks ago that I didn't see them being in contention for Champions League this year. It's worth saying as well, and Nkunku's close apparently. Yeah.
That could make a big, he's one hell of a player in front of goal. That could make a big difference for them in the next few weeks. We think that's probably going to be after the international break. And And listen, they're still capable of coming to my team and winning next week, because we'll give them a chance like we give everybody a chance, and it'll be an interesting battle. They'll be well up for it. But the problem for them as well is the narrative around that football club if they lose next week. Pochettino, going back to Tottenham, the way Tottenham are playing. You have to remember how much Chelsea hate my team. I think Gary Mantle, our Chelsea correspondent, said it best. He said, probably if Chelsea were in this position, the anger would be beginning to build now towards the board. But if the team loses at Tottenham, with Tottenham doing so well, the overview might just look at it as a Pochettino problem. And it's too soon. I screamed this in pre-season. It'll probably take 3 months for you to get the benefit and see what Pochettino's trying to do. Now, we're coming up to that period and the fixtures are rough. But essentially, if they lose all these difficult fixtures coming up, their season in terms of league campaign is finished.
And on that bombshell...
What about FPL chances question? It was a good one. What did it say?
He said, we're at Arsenal in the league.
No, he didn't.
Todd Bowley, you got my number. I'll do your swap deal, Moyes for Pochettino, no problem. And you don't even have to pay me any money. I'll take that at Christmas.
Moyes isn't young enough.
Yeah, that's true. But he'll take a fucking 7-year contract. James, what you doing Sunday?
A live show.
Live show, Sunday. What's the date?
Sunday, November the 5th.
Please come down, come and say hello. We'd love to see you there. Love to talk a bit of footy over a few drinks and make the most of it. So Waterloo, Thirsty Bear, just a reminder, if you need any info, DM James on Planet FPL Pod, or just follow the link on his bio. Eventbrite, Planet FPL.
It's in the bio.
Much love. Well. Stay safe. Ciao for now.
Thanks everyone. Be nice to each other and play it your way. Cue music, please, man child. Didn't even do the schedule.
Oh, we didn't as well.
I know.
We're still rolling. Go on, do the schedule.
Do the schedule?
Yeah, do the schedule.
Okay, tomorrow's clash of correspondents. Luton versus Liverpool. Dan Ashby, Dan Lord. Wednesday, Sky Fantasy Football. Thursday is, I'm going to do Ask James stream Thursday. Friday, People's Poll podcast, unusual for a Friday. Topics to be determined later in the week. Our Patreon pods, if you want to support the show, www.patreon.com/planetfpl. Is a Q&A today. Tomorrow is a quiz. Wednesday's Tottenham. Can this continue? And I'm just talking about West Ham's results, not Tottenham's. Thursday is Money in Football on if going to football could ever be free. Very interesting case study being done by Fortuna Dusseldorf in the second division in Germany at the moment. And Friday, differential show, Gameweek 11 preview.
Tidy. This is Manchild. You said Q Music Manchild. I thought, let's ring and see if he's coming to the live show.
You already told me he's not.
Who's James calling?
No, it's not James. Manchild, you're alive. Are you coming to the live show on Sunday, yeah?
This Sunday?
If you don't come to the live show, we're going to stop saying Q Music Manchild at the end of the podcast. This Sunday, 5th of November, Waterloo. Tell the people you're coming.
The people I'm coming. Waterloo, you say, eh?
Yes.
I know that place. That's Jubilee Line. Standard.
Ciao for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Live show. If you want tickets to the live show on Sunday, November the 5th.
Sunday, November the 5th.
In the Thirsty Bear pub in Waterloo, central London.
Head over to Eventbrite where you can buy tickets. We start at 2 p.m. is when the first game is. We will be there earlier than that.
Live screen, the Forest v Villa, Luton v Liverpool, and then this podcast, but the Game Week 11 review with Suj rather than you.
And it goes all the way through till sort of they kick us out.
When they kick us out.
Exactly that.
Tickets are £5. All money raised goes to the Game Week 39 charity fundraiser. The live show is brought to you in partnership with our friends at FPL Meets.
Help a brother out.
They organise a lot of awesome free meetups all around the world. And so, yeah, please do come and show support and come and say hi at the live show on the 5th of November as well.
Sunday, November the 5th.
It'll be a really, really good day out. Guarantee that.
Any fireworks that day, James?
I mean, it might be for Watkins and Salah owners as Villa go to Forest and Liverpool go to Luton. So it'll be very interesting games from a fantasy perspective as well, whatever format you play.
Nice one. Listeners, remember the 5th of November. Stay safe. Ciao for now.
Live show.
That's coming. After 2 hours of setting the mics up, cables, cameras, I have to sit like a fucking hunchback. So, listen, thanks everybody for turning up to our first ever Planet FPL Live.
You're going to do that for an hour.